Trump was back to his old form today, taking to Twitter to attack Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski of MSNBC's Morning Joe. In two consecutive tweets this morning, the president called Mika, quote, low IQ, referred to Joe Scarborough as Psycho Joe, and recalled a time when he refused the two access to his Mar-a-Lago estate and resort. And as expected, the media spent the entire day with wall-to-wall coverage of just those tweets. And Deputy White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders responded to suggestions that the president had gone overboard today.
The president has been attacked mercilessly on personal accounts by members on that program. And I think he's been very clear that when he gets attacked, he's going to hit back. I think the American people elected somebody who's tough, who's smart, and who's a fighter. And that's Donald Trump. And I don't think that it's a surprise to anybody that he fights fire with fire.
For more on this, we're being joined now by conservative talk show host Andrea Kaye and Democratic strategist Stephanie Willis. Ladies, thanks for being with me this evening. I'd like to talk about what POTUS said in his tweet, but not in the way that mainstream media is talking about it. We get it, that what he did was bad. It was insulting. We get that this is how Donald Trump rolls. But Stephanie, is the media giving too much time to his bad behavior and not doing enough to talk about the real issues at hand, like Kate's Law just passing the House today, or the travel ban going into effect this evening? A lot of real stuff to talk about, right, Stephanie?
Absolutely. There's a lot of great issues going on with Kate's Law, in addition to the No Sanctuaries Act. However, I think that some coverage needs to be had on the fact that Donald Trump did something that he always does, and he messed up. He made a mistake, and there's no accountability for his mistakes. So I think that, they're doing a good job in the fact that they are covering it, but after a certain point, they need to move forward, and we need to continue talking about the travel ban, the health care bill, in addition to Kate's Law. So I do agree with that to a certain extent.
And Andrea, what are your thoughts on this, given that it's not just Democrats coming to Mika Brzezinski's defense? Republicans are also asking the president to, hey, come on, cut it out. Is Trump hurting his own cause? I mean, all this is a self-brought distraction, isn't it?
Well, I agree that it might be a little bit of a distraction, but first of all, I don't agree that it's universally considered to be a mistake. I do think that he was in part elected because he is doing something that no Republican has done, at least in many, many years, and that's punching back against the left, that whether it's in the media or the left elected officials that have been allowed to insult, demean, degrade conservatives with no impunity, and Republicans are just expected to just take it and be beat down with a double standard. Not only that, but I think that America is coming off of 8 years of which we had a slick talking con man who made a lot of beautiful, pretty promises while looking pretty while he was saying it. And unfortunately, the end result of those promises was ugly in terms of the results of from an economic and a security standpoint. So, the American people long ago, long before this tweet today, made a conscious decision with eyes wide open to elect a man who sometimes made crass remarks in exchange for what they believe is going to be better results from a prosperity and a security standpoint. And what do we have today? We have Kate's Law finally being passed, as well as an immigration law that's going to make America safe again. And that's really what the American voter cares about.
But regarding being a punching bag and taking this laying down, I mean, for 8 years, President Obama was also pummeled with horrible, crass remarks from a lot of people. And I think it's fair to say that when you're the most powerful person in the world, you are gonna get pummeled. You better get used to it and grow thicker skin. Wouldn't you say, Stephanie?
Absolutely, and that was one of their key terms during their administration. When they go low, we go high, and that's something that's extremely presidential. I mean, he could take a key note from, from President Obama here. But we have to go back to the fact that yes, we have to remember Trump was the one who started birtherism. He continued to pummel at President Obama for an extreme amount of time, claiming that he was not born here in the United States. In addition, there were other media outlets who in turn pummeled at President Obama. However, he did not stoop to that level. And that's something that the president needs to understand. He's no longer campaigning. He's the actual president of the United States. Yes, individuals elected him to this position. I mean, he didn't win by the popular vote. We all know that. But individuals did elect him to this position, and he needs to act in that manner. I mean, going after a journalist and discussing her image is not something that's presidential. Do your job. Do what you're supposed to. You will get back at these individuals by passing bills, by helping the American people, which is something that's not even happening at this point.
No, I'm glad that you brought up bills because, Andrea, President Trump has actually said very little about the recently revealed GOP Senate health care bill. Shouldn't he be out there helping Mitch McConnell to whip up support for this bill?
Actually, he has been meeting with people like Senator Rand Paul and Ted Cruz behind the scenes, but I have to go back and address what Stephanie said because I have to correct the record. There's enough fake news going out around today as you opened your show with, and it was actually not President Trump who started the birther movement. That was Hillary Clinton herself. But let me also remind the viewers that President Obama actually did attack members in the media, told people at campaign rallies and other places to not watch Fox News and to not watch Hannity, and said that he could pit somebody against Hannity. And may I also remind people that I don't recall any conservative host ever using the kind of demeaning rhetoric against President Obama that we have heard from Mika Brzezinski and Joe Scarborough, in which she called him mentally ill and other scurriest thing. Well, you know what? I didn't interrupt you, Stephanie. I suggest that you couldn't even criticize President Obama on policy without being called a racist. I suggest that no conservative host could have ever gotten away with calling President Obama mentally ill. He would not have had to respond with a tweet, because that person would have been fired immediately on the spot. Now, in regards to health care, I think that he is doing what he can do behind the scenes. You know, President Trump went into office facing two opposition parties, the Democrats as well as the Republican establishment, that really didn't want necessarily the people's agenda to be put forth, which President Trump was elected to do. We see people like Susan Collins wanting to fund Planned Parenthood. Then on the other end, we've got Ted Cruz and Rand Paul wanting free market solutions. So he's really got a tough battle on his hands, and he is dealing with it behind the scenes. And I'm optimistic because at least what we have so far is better than Obamacare, which is absolutely crumbling. And, you know, the average American is far more concerned with the fact they can't pay their premiums, and even if they can, have access to medical care with the high deductibles than they are Mika Brzezinski's feelings today.
And Stephanie, I'll let you get the last word in there just real quickly.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, we're talking about healthcare here. I'm glad that you actually brought that up, because it's a fact that I want to actually call this the Robin Hood bill, because they're essentially taking from the poor with their subsidies and actually giving to the rich. So I don't know, and it's in my opinion that a lot of people are actually for Obamacare. That's a part of the reason why Mitch McConnell couldn't bring it to a vote. And bringing back to the fact that there haven't been media conservatives who did not go after President Obama, we have to remember that when during Joe and Mika's show, they're attacking his professional character, not him personally. So that's one thing we also need to consider as well. He has a track record, President Trump has a track record of demeaning women, and this is just another instance of that fact.
Ladies, we got to leave that right
Calling
there.
him
Thank you
mentally
so
ill.
much.
Calling him mentally ill is not attacking him personally. Come on. Thank you so much.
We got to leave that right there, ladies. I'm out of time. We'll have you back on to talk about this some more. Andrea Kaye, Stephanie Willis, thank you so much.